right.
All right.
Hello, welcome to Ask Jake. This is Reese. He's my buddy. I've known him for a while. He's a good guy, and he's very eloquent.
So here we go. We have lots of questions to get into. So to start with, men, what makes for the best in-shop listening, and who gets to choose it during the workday?
I mostly choose it because they're lame and they don't choose anything. But when they do choose things, what do you choose?
Very indecisive. I don't know. I just let Jake choose.
He likes like 70s singer-songwriter stuff. Kind of, and like bluesy stuff, like rock. Ansel likes loud music.
Corey Wong.
Carrie, what do you like when you stop in?
Little New Order.
Yeah. What do you like, Andy?
Well, it's good to have Wilco today.
Yeah, it was good to have Wilco. I like listening to everything. That's the problem.
That's
But there's a lot of stuff
all of us.
What's that?
You judge all of us.
I do judge all of you, but I do it silently. You guys have brought some good music, though, right? Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. You brought some good stuff for sure.
Yeah.
What was good?
What was good? I can't remember music. We go through so much stuff every day.
Yeah. One of the things I like about teaching is that like young people bring you stuff you've never heard of. And it's so great.
It is really good.
It's really boring when young
Ansel
people
has
bring
some
you
like cool, like funky stuff that he.
Can Reese be in charge of what we listen to now?
No, no. I'm dictator.
No, yeah.
Well, yeah, I give you the option. Just because you don't vote, if you don't vote means you can't complain, right?
Okay, so yeah, no, you have to vote. Otherwise, it's the voice of complicity, as my bumper sticker used to say. Yeah. So prosaic or profound? For next.
For profound, let's do profound.
Profound.
First.
Okay, so this is from FOMO King. Part 1. I bought an Epiphone inspired by 1966 Century guitar, covered it with stickers, yanked off the pick guard, changed the pickup. I play it through my Pro Junior, and I even stand way up on my toes while I'm singing. How come I don't sing, play, or write songs as beautifully as Kate Staples does?
Because you're not Kate Staples.
But I got all this stuff.
I know, right?
You might have the wrong tone woods.
Yeah. Have you checked all the dumb stuff first? Are you good at songwriting? Are you good at singing? Are you good at playing guitar?
I've got the stuff.
Ah, okay, I understand. You're helpless.
Okay. So that might help explain this part 2, why even though I also bought Ry Cooder's original Pale Blue Cooder caster from Retro Frets for
I was going to say Retro Frets sold
for
out.
$150,000.
That wasn't nearly enough.
And no, whoever bought it should give it back to him and tell him
Keep playing.
Keep playing.
He doesn't want it anymore. He's on to his next things.
Yeah, he's discovered reverb. But anyways, I sleep next to it. But even now, I sometimes feel frightened and alone. What's wrong?
Wait, hold on. I lost the theme of this.
I bought the
expensive thing.
Bought the Cooder caster,
alone.
sleeps next to it. But even now, he still wakes up feeling frightened and alone. What's wrong?
Love's important. You gotta find somebody to love, not the guitar. The guitar can't feel back.
Prosaic. This is Patrick Niedermeyer. Do you sell old/vintage guitar parts like tuning machines, bridges, and pickguards?
I used to many moons ago. I don't now. It's not worth the time. Sorry.
Dave Boynton would like to know short scale versus long scale guitars. Why would a player prefer one or the other? What are the characteristics and attributes of each?
So typically, long scale guitars are punchier. They're brighter. They can be louder, but they also need to be braced more heavily for the more tension, the long strings. Scale length. Typically, short scale guitars are mellower sounding, woodier sounding, more relaxed on the left hand, per the same string gauge, right? If we're talking like Martin and Gibson, a set of 12s on a Martin, on a Gibson, you'd have to bump them up to 13s to feel about the same. Right? So if you're using the same gauge strings, you can either lighten the bracing on the short scale guitars or bump the gauges up to get the same sort of playing feel-ish. But generally, the people who like long scale guitars are people who dig the hell in or are playing like snappy lead, or they're playing melody stuff, or they really want to punch out. And typically the short scale players, a lot of them are like finger pickers or flat pickers who want like a chunky woody kind of Gibson thing, because it just, the strings are flabbier, so they just do different things.
String flap.
Basically, yeah, string flap
String
problems. Yeah.
Do you suffer from string flap?
I do sometimes.
Justin Murray asks, on Jake's blog, he mentions he is self-taught and has been doing this full-time since 2007. I'm interested in more detail on how he got into doing this, how he taught himself, and where his love of guitars stems from.
Oh, that's so long.
You went back in time to teach yourself.
I mean, I am hundreds of years old,
Yeah.
but
I knew it.
the first instrument I fixed up was just out of high school. Somebody had given me a violin that was in many, many pieces. Everything was broken. Like the top was shredded into lots of little parts, and so was the back. And I put it all together in Bonnie and my first apartment. And
Which is where?
Providence.
Okay.
Good place. Lupo's Pride, everybody. It doesn't exist anymore. But put this thing all back together and said, oh, wait, you can put instruments back together. They don't all need to be dumped off if they're just broken. So then I got into buying stuff at flea markets and fixing them up enough to see if I liked them. And then I resold stuff on eBay or to friends or whatever for cheap to get my costs back. And I kept recycling this. And before we moved here to Vermont, in 07, we moved in late 07 here in the middle of winter. The snow was up to basically the top of the porch that year. It was crazy. Like up to the windows, top of the windows. There's a great picture of me pickaxing a tunnel out so that postage deliveries could get in that year. But at any rate, I've been doing a little bit of stuff in Providence, flipping stuff, having fun. Like there's so many people on Instagram are doing this, right? I see them all. I see you, and you're having fun. Don't let it get to your head. And then my in-laws. So I was doing that as a side hustle. Like I was managing a fancy coffee shop that roasted their own stuff. That was fun. And then my in-laws bought this building, the store and the antique store, and they didn't have really any plan. We didn't have any really real plan, but they needed somebody to run it, of course. And so we were like, okay, we moved up, and then I realized there's no jobs here. What am I going to do? And Bonnie, like it's a 2-person thing to keep this thing going. So I was like, the hell with it. I'll try doing the instrument thing. And I've been doing it ever since. And that's many thousands and thousands of guitars and instruments later. This is where I am.
And so you taught yourself by taking things apart.
Yeah. But I mean, we also have, that's good. See, you came right back to it.
Yeah.
See, he's a good host, right? We like this guy. But, I already had some woodworking background. My grandfather was a fantastic woodworker and cobbler of all things. And on my dad's side, there's a big engineering, aviation, type tolerances, blah, blah, blah kind of thing going on. So I've been tinkering with stuff since I was little, no matter what it is.
What is the purpose of original fret wires, forensically removed from a 1957 Stratocaster, but still lovingly stored in the also original case, complete with paperwork documenting their provenance?
It's so that you can show off.
A handful of frets?
Yeah. It's important to somebody, but not me. That stuff's like old staples pulled out of a, community bulletin board. It does not matter one bit.
Yeah, right.
Old fret wire sucks anyway. Right, Ansel? Come on, it's pretty bad.
No, it's fucking awful. I mean,
See?
it's so good. You should definitely keep all your old fret wire.
Andy, who works on our boat instruments, he definitely thinks we should keep all the fret wire, right?
Oh boy.
It'll be very useful when violas come back in fashion. That happened to me once. I did have to put... I have refretted an old Gibson for a guy, and I sent it home, and I had used like the smallest medium-ish wire I could, but it wasn't for him, and so he sent it back a couple years later, and by that point I had salvaged some old 50s tiny little awful Gibson wire, and I refretted my refret job with the recovered tiny little wire off another Gibson. But the reason I had to refret in the first place is it had been worn down to where the slots from the finger wear were in the tang of the fret. There was no fret left. And he didn't want me to refret it, and I said, I can't make this guitar work.
But Jake, Willie Nelson.
I
Willie
know.
Nelson's trigger.
He also played a
never refretted
classical
that
guitar. He also played a classical guitar. What happens to classical guitar frets is they don't get that much wear. The strings are softer than the frets.
Fretless guitars are very in.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they sure are.
Chris Privet says, I bought a Guild F50 from you a couple of years ago. It's an outstanding guitar. Your work had it in perfect shape. I want to ask you your thoughts on Guild. Do you have a preference between Westerly, Corona, Tacoma, etc.? Does build location matter much? Which are the ones to seek out and the ones to avoid?
Guilds.
Guild.
It depends on what you like. If you like a guitar that's more like a Gibson or like a small body Martin in flavor and handling, 50s, 60s. If you like a guitar that's like the prototypical Guild, like a 70s or early 80s Guild is what you want. That's like kind of a little stiff feeling, bright and punchy. You really gotta be one of those players, like our friend Rob. Come on, right?
Rob.
You know, the banger. That's the kind of Guild you want. The late 80s and 90s ones that are still made in Westerly are fantastic, actually. There's like, they evolved and they just got better and better and better, and then Fender bought them. They're still okay, and now they're gone. I mean, whatever was the original Guild factory is gone, so who cares post Fender? Moving them to Connecticut, right, in the old Ovation factory, and then
Farmington?
overseas. Yeah, who cares?
Farmington?
Yeah, who cares? You know, whatever. That's not a Guild anymore. It's like people talk to me about Gibsons. Gibson made out of the Kalamazoo factory. I don't really think of it as a Gibson. It's like a different factory, different people. Like the Gibson lineage sort of stopped at Kalamazoo to me. And they're still nice. They're still guitars. They're still Gibsons, but they're not Gibsons. That's a jerky thing to say, I guess. But the Guilds, yeah. So if you want a woodier, mellower guitar, go early. If you want a brighter, punchier guitar, go middle, Westerly. If you want somewhere in between and like sort of like electric feeling, slinky kind of necks, 80s, 90s ones are great. And cheap. They're really cheap too for what they are.
There's a kind of a Rhode Island thread.
I like Rhode Island.
I know. We got Narragansett. We've been to Providence, Westerly.
And he went down to the Cape and brought back Gansets.
Okay.
And put one on my bench one day, and I said, "Oh, that's delicious. That's like old times right there." I imagine sitting on the beach, drinking avocado and cheese sandwiches with the sunset and the killer whales. There are no killer whales.
There will be.
There will be.
I didn't think you could drink avocado cheese sandwiches either.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah. We're having verb drift. Okay. Literary geographer notes, whether you like it or not, the shop makes a pretty good barometer of people's social emotional lives, the economy's gyrations, some parts of the zeitgeist. What are you feeling right now?
It's an election year. People aren't buying much.
Next question.
No, I feel good. I mean, we provide a service to people who need it, and the business has grown way beyond what I could have ever imagined or wanted, really. But I love all you guys. No. Seriously, like, right? Like the ideal for a repairman is to listen to loud music in your little box with nobody bugging you, fixing things and feeling happy about it, and then you go out and have some sort of drink or coffee or whatever on the porch. Although I don't drink coffee anymore, I'm sad. But we can't do that anymore because people have found us.
Shane McManus says, do you prefer using hide glue, tight bond, or epoxy?
Different strokes for different folks. Tight bond mostly, and epoxy for stuff that you really don't want to move, but you have to be careful on how you prepare it. You have to make sure that you get it right the first time. Right, Ian?
Yeah, right.
Right, Ansel?
No.
Yeah.
Right, Jose?
No,
Yeah, see?
I haven't.
Oh,
I haven't dealt with epoxy yet.
thank goodness. The epoxy has its uses.
It's
Yeah, the high glue fetish is weird to me. Tight bond works so much better. It's so much easier.
If you like high glue.
No more. And it's there are valid reasons why people like hide glue.
Probably take a belt.
There are valid reasons why people like hide
Probably
glue.
take a belt and do like.
I will just say that most instrument factories in the world have bottles of Type Bond everywhere for a reason. It's
probably
very
take a-
reliable.
Probably take a belt and.
Stop!
So this is from Carrie Harris.
Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
Have you ever had to fire/ban a customer for being too neurotic, unrealistic, perfectionistic?
He's getting pretty close with me.
Yes, yes, I have. Only once. Only once, and it was a guy who always wanted to trade me things, was never happy with the service, but kept sending stuff in. So it seems like he wanted something for free. It drove me crazy. Like every time I would send him something back for his weird project that it was always changing to be something that wasn't what he wanted in the first place. And by the time I sent him it back, his ideas had shifted. It wasn't good enough for him. Oh, that man was trouble. He was big trouble. I feel so sorry for him. What a way to live. But yeah, he was the only one I said, fine, whatever. Take your toys and leave.
Marlene Nancy O'Connor would like to know, what string gauges do you use for the Regal tenor guitars in GDAE tuning?
That's really easy. 42 wound, 30 wound, 20 wound, 12 plain. Low to high.
Finite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally, you can bump it up or down a gauge depending on how you like it.
What is inside of a Chapman stick?
Demons. Next question.
This is for everybody. Music you never need to hear again in this lifetime?
Don't say.
I keep trying to like Bjork and I don't. I'm sorry. I don't need that anymore. What about you guys? Come on, panel. Andy?
I like Bjork.
But, Bjork's fine, but, I try to like it. That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
music you can handle not listening to?
Really stuffy classical music.
Oh, German piano music from the
Yeah.
middle 1800s.
Yeah, that's really
That's terrible
complicated and
music.
busy.
That's like listening to metal.
That's for you, Gurian.
Yeah, sorry, Gurian. But you're really listening to German piano music from the 1800s, and you just don't know it. Carrie, what's music you could handle not listening to?
I think I can handle all music because I think that I still, if it's music I don't like, I can listen to it and be like, this
There's
is why I
something,
don't like it,
but-
so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
won't do that when I try and make music.
Yeah, there's
I agree
also
with Carrie.
something. There's also something.
Yeah.
That is generally how I feel. It's fun to see what the girls like my kids, like when they're listening to things, and some of it's wonderful and some of it's terrible, and I enjoy all of it. I didn't mean to be mean to Bjork. It's just I've tried so hard. It's just not engaging to me.
Well, you already know I'm gonna say the Doors.
Oh yeah,
But-
yeah, I can agree with that.
Aside
Try to
from,
run, try to hide. Now they're
Yeah.
back from the other
I
side.
know.
All right.
I mean, aside from that, it's a lot of that drony.
Ooh,
But
what?
Chapel Rowan
What?
slaps.
What?
Love that shit. Slay. That's
It
all
is
I have
good.
to say.
It is good. Jose, what can you stand not listening to?
I don't really like things like Linkin Park or
Oh,
any of them.
or
How
that,
dare you?
Or that,
How
that
dare you?
jerk face. What's his name?
Peak
Kid
music.
Rock.
Peak
Ooh.
music. No.
Oh, I could not.
And
Yeah.
no one said Nickelback, too.
Ooh.
Is that
It's like they're throwing chains of kryptonite around me.
But generally, I'm like Carrie. I'll listen to
Also,
anything.
zero gravity juice flavored beer. I will drink
Like
it because
orange
it's
juice?
here.
It's for babies.
Look at this.
It is for
now.
babies.
It's like hard Pedialyte.
To the benefit of your friends and customers, you often take on repairs that other repairmen might not touch. Can you share with us a few of your most memorable repairs and/or train wrecks throughout the years? Brandon McCoy.
Well, your old LG2 was pretty bad. I think every single back brace was replaced. Had cleats all over the place. That was a pretty bad one, Brandon.
No.
But memorable repairs. The bass that you and I worked on was pretty good with the missing piece of top, Andy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Way long ago.
Yeah, the 1800s.
In the mists of time.
Yeah,
And that's getting played on jazz stages. Big jazz stages now.
yeah, that's a ring.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, there was a beautiful. Well, I don't know. The one I was going to talk about was like the 1700s English guitar. That was cool. Looks like a Saturn.
Oh yeah.
But that wasn't really a major project. What are major projects? We work with major projects every day. Crappy Stellas and Harmonies and horrible things that are exploded. I think Mike Brown brings in a lot of trash that needs to be fixed, and then it's jewels. Like he has a J200 that was pretty bad, where popsicle sticks were used in lieu of everything inside.
I remember that.
That guitar was a lot.
Good thing we only used 100% high glue on that one.
And he also had a Weissenborn too. So Mike Brown, good job, buddy. You bring the sweethearts in. But no, really, there's a lot of good stuff that is miserable to work on. But when you're done with it, you feel proud that you've saved something that maybe was not worth saving.
Well, that Walmart guitar
Which one?
that I brought in for one of my students for you to fix up.
Was this the one that was like with the split heel?
No,
Okay.
there was some switch that just was not complying, and you spent 2 hours on this.
Of course
thing.
I did.
And it works, but
Good.
it was 2 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we love the patient too much.
Yeah.
But for those of you not fixing the hopeless projects, you're on my list.
Yep, they're all around. They're listening
everywhere.
They're listening from here. Noah Dixon says, "Hey, Jake and Company, do you prefer working on modern or vintage instruments? Is there one in particular that stands out as being extremely challenging?" It's a theme here.
Nah, not really. They're all about the same. Modern instruments are kind of boring, to be honest. A lot of them are easy to work on, but then the really frustrating thing is really nice modern instruments that have problems of 70-year-old instruments.
Yeah.
So I like the vintage ones better. At least you know that time has ravaged them, right? It's not like they're falling down on their own feet. So I guess old stuff's more fun.
Yeah.
Right, guys?
Yeah.
Old is better.
Yeah.
We like the ghosts. We like to have ghosts that come out of the sound
seeing
holes. Like imagine what ghost is in
guitars
this
that need
sound hole.
neck resets.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it. Like, there's so many new guitars that need neck resets.
Yeah.
My local guitar store, this is Mr. Philip Shaw. My local guitar store, in an attempt to sell me on a Chinese bourgeois, mentioned it came with a guarantee including a neck reset, which every guitar needs in 5 to 10 years. I question every as well as the 5 to 10 year time frame. What are your thoughts? Have you found any makes or models hold up better than others?
The problem with new guitars is that the materials are inferior compared to old stuff, which was air dried for decades before it was built. So, every new guitar needs service faster than every old guitar ever did because they just don't have as good stuff in them. It's true. Sorry. And they all do tend to need neck resets or are close to needing neck resets faster than old guitars ever did before because the structural elements aren't as good. There are ways to alleviate this, but we also have to remember that we're much meaner to our instruments now. We take them everywhere. We take them on hot gigs outside. We take them in cars. We take them to the park. We treat them much more differently than people did in the old days. And we also expect them to perform really well all the time in a way that previous generations didn't even know was possible. Don't you think? Like,
Yeah.
come on, all the old dudes who come in with their old guitars with like mile high cheese slicer action, they're like, this thing plays just fine. Okay. It's like they're fine with it. We're not fine with it. So
I didn't even know if setups existed back then. Like when I was a kid, I didn't know. I was just like, this is a bad guitar. Like I didn't know you could change a guitar. It's like, I guess these strings were that high off and that's it.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone went to the local
horrors,
guitar guy.
the horrors. It's my first decent acoustic my mom brought back from the Philippines from a small shop. And I didn't know it all, but it was actually a baritone guitar. So I strung it with mediums and tuned it to pitch. And I played on that for so long. It was so bad. It hurt.
Yeah, it would.
But it developed my character. I kept going when others failed.
Yeah, you like fighting with things.
I don't really.
So about like the hot guitar thing, my friend Eric Goodenough, who's one of the Froggy Bottomists, has this nice little piece of writing that's about.
It's this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Look at that beautiful, beautiful
They
thing.
can't see it.
Fine. But I'm worried that being tipsy, I'm going to break things.
It's just a froggy bottom. They come from nearby.
Hi, Eric.
So Eric just has this nice little piece of writing about the care of your guitars, and the standout vignette is, don't leave your guitar any place you wouldn't leave a grandparent or a dog.
That's bad advice.
Love that.
That is so good.
Yeah.
Except people leave their dogs in hot cars all the time. I guess there are repair customers.
Is it legal to break a car window if you see a guitar inside?
Yes. Especially if it's barking at you.
Phil Fabiano has a two-part
Hi, Phil.
has a two-part question. Jake, hey Jake, did you ever consider building guitars, acoustic or electric? And when is the next board meeting with the shareholders? I'd like to buy some stock.
Phil, I'll fill you in on the second part. Did he catch what I did there? Yeah. But I've built stuff. It's too much time. Sorry, Phil. Maybe someday when I'm retired, huh? Maybe.
Retired? What the fuck's that mean?
Shh. They don't know what our younger generations have to deal with.
I do.
Someday I would like to build. I feel like the world has plenty of guitars. I'd like to build other things. I still want to make a compact, loud enough, comfortable acoustic bass of some sort. That's the goal for me. That would be a useful thing to solve. But there are a lot of guitars in the world, and we've solved the problems, but we don't want to admit that the solutions are things we need. Yeah.
Our friend Creston Lee would like to know approximately how much money in US dollars do you save per annum by cutting your own hair?
So much.
All the money.
I put it right back to you, gentlemen.
Ouch.
Put it right back to you, gentlemen. Well, the story on that is that I had taken a screenshot of a YouTube comment where somebody said to me, "This guy plays guitar like he cuts his own hair," and I was like, "Yes, sickest burn ever!" And I sent it to Creston. So thank you, Creston. I'm reliving my worst days.
Your favorite budget vintage guitar brand is what Mr. Shane Johnson would like to know.
Shane, good question. Electric Dan Electro, but it's not really budget anymore. What is budget anymore? Are we talking like a little under $1,000? That seems like budget these days. So Dan Electro, if your price range is $500 to $1,000 for electrics, under that, like, well, if you wanted a really cheap guitar,
Can you even find a Dano under 1,000 anymore?
yeah, you totally can. You can find the amp and case ones for $500-$600 bucks still.
That's true.
And those are like outrageously good. Yeah. The U ones, the U2s, too much. The Pros, those things are cool as hell. Too much. Move on. You can still find the double cutaway ones for under $1,000. But really cheap guitar brands is all the 80s Japanese stuff. Come on, like Hondo, like twos. Those things are the shit. For like if you
Ibanez Roadstar.
yes, Ibanez
yes.
Roadstars, those are the shit.
Anything from the Fujigen factory, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well, except the early stuff,
Except
which
the
is
early,
kind of shit.
well, I was
Not the shit.
Beautiful though.
well. The best fretless I've ever owned is behind Reese right there, but the second best fretless I've ever played is not to toot my own horn, a conversion I did on a Fujigen era jazz bass, which was
The neck?
yeah, it came out
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good. It was a very nice feeling fretless bass. Those can be made in a
Yes,
great
budget
instruments.
guitars need work to sound good, but they are good afterwards.
Yeah.
We're awash with lots of cheap, sort of functional guitars that last for a few years before their necks go bad now. And they seem like really good options, but yeah, the old funky stuff is still pretty good. But we've only talked electrics, now we need to talk acoustics, right? Because it wasn't specified.
No, his favorite budget vintage guitar
Favorite
brand.
budget vintage
Alvarez?
guitar brand. They're alright. They're good guitars.
Rover.
So Alvarez is good guitar, but it's like
Yamaha Orange Label, Japan.
Red Label.
Or Red Label, yeah.
How many beers have you had, Carrie?
Too many.
It's the red with the yellow there.
Yeah.
There you go. Fair enough. Yamaha. Well, even like whatever the beige and the tan and the white and the whatever that happened in the 70s, all those Yamahas are great guitars after they're fixed. They all need neck resets these days.
Yeah, it's all in. There's a big asterisk.
On all of this stuff.
After it's fixed.
After it's fixed. Can you take him to the beach?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Old
That's a good
Yamahas, those things are
You
amazing.
can probably surf on it.
You can I
Mine.
have seen them float in water and they're fine afterwards.
Did any of you ever encounter those Ovation electric guitars that were made of
Yes.
bodies made of styrofoam?
Yeah. that looked like battle axes?
BC Rich.
No,
The
no, it was
breadwinners,
Ovation.
No, I know, but the shape of the body was like a battle axe.
I don't
almost.
remember. I don't remember that.
That's
being
the
that
Like
bread-
breadwinners and stuff.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Ovations are weird. I love them.
well, Connecticut.
they're like the cat that's a little, that's around the house. It's like you still want to pet it, but it's. They have great
Don't-
necks, but
Don't pet that guitar. It'll follow you home. Okay.
you know it's true.
I really
We all have had a cat like that.
have a cat.
Have we all had an ovation?
We've all had an ovation. I've had many ovations. I
Yeah.
still pine for my 67, 68 first year production ovation. That was a good guitar.
Yeah, I had a 79 Preacher.
Oh, of course you did.
Yeah, my dad thought it was the best guitar ever. It had stereo inputs. Okay,
Wait, why would you need stereo in?
outputs.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
had a bunch of holes. Barbie's Guitar Playhouse would like to know, how does Jeff Tweedy know which guitar to play?
It's whatever one's closest to it. They have a warehouse or warehouses full of guitars. We see them. We see them online. They show them off all the time. They're great guys.
Ethan Nelson has sent in a whole lot of interesting questions, including maybe the winner.
I like Ethan. He's got so much energy.
Yeah, well, that's what it looks like.
He
Ready?
has so much energy.
You ready?
Okay, Ethan.
Would you take a volunteer for a day in exchange for setup lessons?
Sure.
Who's a guitarist you never tire of listening to?
None of them.
Takeshi.
She-
Takeshi. I could listen to.
Is that your
I
t-shirt?
I don't have
Changed.
a t-shirt on
Okay.
anymore.
Okay. Can you recommend a cheap-ass bass with decent components?
Like electric bass? Sure. Anything. There are so many good basses. Cheap ass bass with good components. The old Yamahas are great.
Hey, that's
Yeah. The old like 90s, 80s, 90s Yamahas are great. That's not a cheap ass bass.
this is cheap as hell. This is wonderful. This is perfect.
Uh-oh.
You should buy this. Anyone watching,
right
you should
now.
buy this right now. I definitely don't need to pay for a car. You should buy this bass. I need money. Buy this bass. I'm
Yeah, the
broke.
new Music
buy,
Band Stingrays
buy
are
this
like
bass.
$390.
the Sterlings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty good for 300.
They're okay. My caveat for anything
Fucking
new
see
is
my
that
face.
most new cheap things have massive neck problems. The neck wood is garbage. And there are simple things they could do to make them work and function like a very fancy guitar for not much money, but they don't do it. So I prefer you buy something that's lived in the world for a while and you know that it's okay. So like, the old like, PV basses from the 80s are fantastic.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, sure.
Ibanez Roadstar bases.
Or Ibanez Roadstars. Here we go again.
Very nice.
Do you see the theme? The Japanese kind of had it going on in the 80s.
Okay. Ethan would also like to know, do you have any tattoos?
I don't. I feel really bad.
He's
There's
got a
this.
really embarrassing ass tattoo.
It says
I've never
answer.
heard
Red label, Yamaha.
Yeah, it just says
Tell
red
us
label.
more.
No. There is a good story about tattoos though. There was this guy who was a California guitarist, and he was in, and we were talking about different guitars, and we were talking about Taylors. I'm like, yeah, I like the design of them. Like, I'm not so much into the styling on the fancier models. Like the inlays look like California surfer tattoos. And I look down, and his whole fucking arms are covered with tattoos that look just the same. And I felt so bad, but I'm like, but you are the California surfer. You don't have to feel bad about
true.
it,
That's
right?
true.
The Taylor dots are fine. Dots are fine. They're elegant. They look good. Continue.
Okay. Who are your biggest songwriting influences? More narrowly, where did you draw inspiration for the Lady of Constant Sorrow album?
I was reading a lot of poetry at the time, and reading lots of funny old books, Hemingway and James Joyce, and all sorts of nonsense stuff that you read when you're young. But there's like, do you know who did Ballad of the Gallows Bird?
No.
Who that? Ballad of the Gallows Bird. Look it up. That poet's fantastic. I was reading that. I was reading, who's the Scots guy? Robbie Burns.
Burns, yeah.
The juice is getting to me. Robbie Burns, Towns Van Sant. Neil Halstead of Mojave 3 and the Droney band that I don't care for. Sorry, guys. That kind of stuff. I was listening to lots of stuff at the time. I hate to say it, I was listening to a bunch of Neil Young at the time too. But we get over these
higher
things.
than normal?
That album, like, you know, it's very embarrassing for me to listen to that stuff because it's like you think you're doing good things as a writer, but you're really just trying to talk to other writers.
Last, Ethan, which might be the best question this evening. Can the traditional carrot cake with cream cheese frosting recipe be improved, or has civilization reached its apex on that one very narrow front?
Ethan, my favorite cake is carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. You have won my heart. I love you. You're a good man. But no, you can't really improve that. What can you do? Add in golden raisins?
Maybe
Oh,
mix in,
pineapple.
maybe
No-
mix in
no
some zero
juice.
base.
Carrot with a beer. That's
Yeah.
Pineapple
Carrot
works.
cake with beer. Pineapple
Pineapple.
and carrot cake?
That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, I imagine that
this
would
is
be
great
good.
stuff.
We would put sometimes dried cranberries
Ooh.
in carrot cake. That's really good. Or white chocolate mixed into it.
Okay.
That's really good.
Room to grow.
No.
Yeah.
White chocolate is the Eagles of chocolate.
What if you like the Eagles, Reese?
You don't.
Reese has got a peaceful, easy feeling here.
Holy shit.
That's going to be
might
my
have
whole
just-
drive home.
He might
Toxic.
he might even be taking it easy.
Well, that's it. We officially pissed off everyone.
Okay.
Wait.
Thomas Bergani asks, where do you draw the line between a fret level and a refret? I feel like you work with so many tiny vintage fretted instruments,
no.
and more often than not, you just level the frets.
Yeah. So in a proper socialist world, my friend, everything would get a refret if it could. But we live in a cruel, economically starved capitalist world where you kind of just gotta level and dress the frets because there's no money for that. Ain't no money for that. Go ahead, Reese. Next question.
From my limited repair knowledge, this is BF Guitar 10, part of the fret level process involves getting the neck straight before leveling the frets. Ansel's nodding. On a vintage instrument with
Jose's nodding.
On a vintage instrument with no
Andy's
truss
nodding.
rod,
Yep.
how do you straighten a neck prior to the fret level?
Here's the neat part. You don't.
Yeah, if there's enough fret left, you don't.
Right.
If you have to refret it, you can plane the board and then refret with some sort of fret wire that has big tangs that will give it some good compression strength.
This is what happened with my with my Gretsch.
Yeah, with your
Right.
Gretsch, and
My
it worked,
Gretsch.
didn't it?
Beautiful.
It
Oh,
worked
it's great,
beautifully.
yeah.
That guitar is stable now.
Yep.
So that's how you deal with it. You can also, it's the whole thing with money, right? Like, how much money do you want to spend on something? Of course, you can make anything beautiful, but is it worth putting $500 worth of work to take off the board and route out and put in carbon fiber and do a truss rod and put it back down and then plane it and then refret it, and then you still have to do all the other stuff you have to do on the guitar? It's capitalism.
Last two.
Really? We're there already?
Yeah.
We're there.
Oh, man.
But I'm liking this journey.
Well, I can add more, but
I can ask
No.
you a couple questions.
Okay, well, Ansel asked me a couple questions at the end. Go ahead, Reese.
okay. Can you make me a little fur family themed guitar?
Yes, I can. Really? Do you want that?
We'll get back to that.
Little Fur Family is classic book. If you don't like Little Fur Family, you don't understand me. Unfortunately, we will
You're one of the
forever
elves.
not understand each other. It's okay. It's okay to not understand each other, but we get in more wars that way.
Bonnie Wildwood would like to know, how come instrument repairmen don't sleep at night?
Yeah.
She's on you. She's on you. Shit.
We don't make enough money, so we have to burn the midnight oil, unfortunately. Isn't that a horrible thing? But also, we're crazy. We love to just work on things when nobody else is around.
That is true.
I'm my own elves,
Yeah.
working all night.
Yeah. Sometimes we really need money, so we work in the middle of the night. Sometimes people get sick of waiting for years for their instruments. I understand. I'm so sorry.
He's not.
You. I am sorry. You have. This is one thing people
So
don't
we should have,
understand.
like,
Small businesses where we repair things, whether you're a bike shop, whether you're an auto shop, we stress about all of you in the middle of the night. That's why we're up.
Anything that nobody's asked you this evening that any of you have big feelings about that you'd like to unload on camera?
I don't have anything to say other than the juice was a bad choice. Sorry.
Yep.
If you want,
But here,
I
look.
can come up and ask
It has
you a question.
stags on it, and the other choices were Conehead Haze. That was probably what I should have chosen.
Yeah,
want a beer?
I have one. I don't need more beer. Now, Jake, this is a very important one. This is so important. You might want to cut the video before this question, because imagine a scenario.
That
Imagine
70s guitar
a
shop?
scenario in front of you. In front of you, there are 2 toilets. You have to shit really bad, okay? They're both sentient and they both have human eyes.
I think we have a panel here. Jose, do you want to go first? Reese, do you pass?
If they ask for it, you have to give it to them.
I'm with Reese actually here. That's what was my thinking too.
Okay.
You know, if somebody wants to hurt themselves, they're going to hurt themselves.
Okay?
Here, despite everything that's wrong with this guitar, why is it such a lovely guitar?
Because it has a dame staring out of the sound hole at me with her magnetic eyes.
I'm gonna
And somebody.
vacate the premises.
No, seriously. I worked on this ages ago
Okay,
for.
JD Bounce.
This was owned
Yeah.
by
Lucy's mom, that's her.
Lucy's mom.
Yep.
Yes.
This was her guitar.
And her dad used pitch and shit to glue the braces back together, which is phenomenal in itself, and put these wonderful classical pickguards on it and did all sorts of unmentionables. But it's late 1800s. It's solid figured maple. It's adorable, and it sounds like $1 million. But
Super glue and
is
all.
it because you love the guitar that it sounds so good and it matters to you? Or is the object just that good? I think guitars all sound like guitars to me these days, so the emotion is probably more important than the instrument.
That is important.